We are a very short time away from the grand event, the Columbia 500 with the NFRN Elite Cup Series, but before we get to that, we gotta run the duels and determine these drivers' final qualifying spots. 2 sets of 33 drivers each, 30 drivers coming from the Amateur Cup Series vying for 6 open spots. It's going to be a heck of an event, and we can reveal that the front row has locked themselves into their spots. Dale Jr. Fan 8883 is going to sit on the pole for today's Columbia 500, and Rampage will be on the outside pole. He'll lead them in duel number 2, but let's get straight into the starting grid for today's race so we can get right to racing action. On the front row, we've got Dale Jr. Fan 8883 with that pole in his first career start, and the driver of the number 99, Ryan Maiden, to his outside. In row 2, we've got the veteran driver, Reese Butcher, in the number 90 McDonald Chevrolet, and Caleb Campbell, part of Thunderhawk Motorsports. Just behind in row number 3, another McDonald's car, David Davidson from Alabama, and to his outside, the number 77 Checkmate Motorsports driver of Jonathan Rains. In row number 4, we've got a pair of Fords in Mitchell Mark in the number 5, and Adam Mundinger in the number 97. Row 5 has our first driver vying for an at-large spot, Griffin Lynn, who was involved in a terrifying accident earlier in the Amateur Cup Series race, but he will start in place number 9, and Dominic Carranza on the outside of row number 5. In row 6, we've got the 42 of Cody Hagan, and on the outside, Amethyst Ashley, our first female competitor in the NFRN. In row number 7, we see a pair of part-timers, Kenny Knox in the number 93, and Chris Harley in the number 2. In row number 8, we see one of our full-time rookie competitors, Noah Ponser, and Jason Thales trying to compete for an at-large spot. Row 9 has a couple of yellow machines, number 91 of Gerard Oran, a full-time competitor, and Craig Martin in the next spot over. In row 10, we've got Sparky the Sun Devil from Ramco Motorsports, and Brad Stover. Row 11 brings us a couple more part-time competitors, and Shane Borland in the number 25, and Jacob Rose in the number 75. Row 12 brings 2 veteran competitors who have experience winning races, Nick Smith in the number 18, and Johnny Gardner in the number 6. We see another pair of part-timers in row 13, Dwayne Calloway and Anthony Lopez. Row 14 will give us 2 full-time competitors, Rambo in the number 4 Chevrolet, and Philip Fry in the Toyota, driving the number 78. In the 15th row, we've got a rookie competitor in Jet Kraus, and William Brock, looking for his first victory in the NFRN. Row 16 brings us a Toyota of Jake Baskinger, and Aiden Shepard on the outside. And in the last position, we see the number 88 of Eli Bright. The only place he can go from here is up. Alright, we've got the field set for this one. The 76 will lead them off at turn number 4. The pace car pulls down on the pit road. It's time to shuffle up how they're going to start for this one. The green flag flies. Duel number 1 underway. And it was a great start for Dale Jr. Fan 8883. Cannot say the same for Ryan Maiden, still stuck on the outside line, and now Reese Butcher comes to the inside and looks to take the lead here on lap number 1. This is all for how they're going to line up for the big event. No points being paid out in this one, but this still will be very critical for all 30 of the Amateur Cup Series drivers that are trying to make their way into the field. We've got 10 of them in this duel and 20 of them in the second duel. Now, it's going to come down to who has the highest finishing place in either of the 2 duels. That is going to determine who gets in and who is left out. We see Caleb Campbell from Thunderhawk Motorsports leads the first lap. We got a car on the wall, and Noah Ponser. He spins around, and now there's more trouble up front. And a big multi-car accident heading into turn number 1 on lap number 2. We're under caution. And Craig Martin hits Anthony Lopez as he gets going. Not sure what that was about. Dwayne Calloway. These are a lot of part-timers right here that could not afford an accident. This might be ending their hopes at qualifying for the Columbia 500 here. There's the full-timer Noah Ponser. Jacob Rose, another part-timer, having issue here. There's William Brock. Chris Harley in the number 2, another part-timer. And just to put a little good luck into the part-timer field, we see Griffin Lynn is able to get up into the lead to start this one out. We know they're going to have to make at least one pit stop. They might be coming right here. And yes, we will see the field duck down onto pit road. Nobody's staying out. Of course, those damaged cars are going to have to come down. And there's the entire 33. We'll see if anyone drops out as a result of this one. Aiden Shepard pulls in. He might be able to give us an idea of what we might see on strategy. Tires did not seem to be a problem for teams in the first 3 races of the day, and it looks like it's not going to be a problem here. 2 tires for Aiden Shepard. We'll see the rest of the cars come down. Two tires seems to be a bit of a norm, and Griffin Lynn's going to continue to lead them off pit road. And as we take a look at the race off pit road, it was 2 tires across the board. Very little jostling for position here. But Griffin Lynn, the driver who was involved in that big accident in turn 4 earlier in the day, will be able to pull off and lead a few more laps, getting ready for the next green flag run. Let's take a look at what happened here. Looks like Ponser and Jason Thales were making contact before they even hit the turn, and that puts 3 part-time guys up into the wall, but Ponser rebounds and comes back down onto Jacob Rose and Shane Borland, so make that 5 drivers that are part-timers involved. And then here comes Dwayne Calloway. He gets hit, and I know we're going to see Anthony Lopez get hit as well, and we see Dwayne Calloway. Brad Stover gets a piece of it. William Brock, Jack Krause, and there's Lopez going around. Aiden Shepard. Bright makes a bit of contact. There's Craig Martin again. Jake Baskiner. Just an absolute mess down here in turns 1 and 2. Let's right on board Johnny Gardner. He might have missed this one just barely. Wow. He did definitely look like he got a bit of contact, but that could have been a lot worse for the driver in number 6, and he did a great job at keeping that one out of harm's way. And we're going to keep the action right here. Chris Harley, Noah Ponser, Shane Borland, Dwayne Calloway have dropped out of this one, so 3 of those guys' days are done for. Noah Ponser, we know he will start from the rear of the field. We go back to green on lap number 7. Griffin Lynn leads them back. Mitchell Mark, a full-timer, in 2nd place. Kenny Knox is also looking for a spot in. He's in 3rd, and we see Amethyst Ashley make the move to the inside and trying to get some more spots in preparation for the big event. We see the top 4 seem to have really picked out from the rest of the pack. I believe Sparky the Sun Devil, we see he was starting dip, but he's fading very fast. He gained a position on pit road, but he must have made some contact as he was on there. And I think that's slowing him down and sending him to the rear of the field, and that is just putting another part-timer in very limited chance of making the field now. See, he fades to the back, and everyone's going around him. And at this point, he was one of 3 guys that looked like they had a legitimate shot at making an at-large position, but now it looks like that's cut down to 2, and that's with our 1st and 3rd place drivers in Griffin Lynn and Kenny Knox. So pit road woes continue to strike these drivers as we see the number 16 car fade to the very rear of the draft. It's really spread out the entire pack. But we see we still got a bit of a pack up front, and Mitchell Mark has assumed the lead. We'll come around and get that one. They're still tussling around. The number 76 Dale Jr. fan 8883. He has that pole locked, but he can still definitely race for a victory if he wishes. And we see the part-timer Kenny Knox head up to the front. Now, this has been discussed before. Getting into the top 3 in one of these duel races is essentially a guaranteed spot in the Columbia 500, because if you consider the top 3 in each duel, that would make 6 open spots, and that would obviously be a lock-in. You finish outside the top 3, no guarantees. We'll see Amethyst Ashley take the lead, and we got 4 wide behind her. They are really jostling in there. Our first female competitor in the NFRN. Out of Texas, looking to see what she can do against a field full of boys. Drives that number 57 Tabasco Chevrolet. And 4 wide for the lead, and a couple rows back, and Gerard Oran, our pole sitter in the 76, they're all battling for that lead, and we still got 5 laps to go in this one. And they're still tight going into turn number 1, and they're Kenny Knox and Carranza, they're basically locked at the wheel. Oh, and there's a big hit to the 91, Gerard Oran. Amethyst Ashley's involved in this one. Comes out of the field, and Philip Fry with a big hit to the side of the 91 car. And Griffin Lynn's going to come out, and this could be the race for the end of this duel. They could finish under caution. It's certainly possible for how late they are, and Lynn has the outright lead right now. And he'll take the caution flag without competition from Carranza. So that number 40 car might have just sealed his fate. He might be getting into the Columbia 500 with a victory in this duel. We'll wait and see and get the official word on whether this one will go back to green. And the number 7 of Aiden Shepard, he pulls it down on the pit lane. He's smoking. He's not going to finish this one out. I think he might have hit one of the flying race cars. And then Amethyst Ashley, who was just about set to put herself into a top 10 starting spot. Now she's in the back, and she might stay there for the sake of this one ending under caution. Look at how many spots she lost right there. So let's take a look at what happens. So this starts at the front, and this is involving the pole sitter, Dale Jr. fan 8883, and he's locked up with Gerard Oran, and the entire outside line just gets collected in it. Cody Hagan, David Davidson, Reese Butcher. They were just way too close in that turn between the 91 and the 76. But then you got this entire field that's coming up from the behind that wasn't in this pack, and then Philip Fry, bang, right into the side of Gerard Oran. Sends both cars airborne. They will both come to rest on all fours. We'll watch on board Philip Fry. And he let off the gas. You could tell he was trying to slow down, and you don't want to slow down too much or else you're risking losing your position, and position is obviously important here, but smashed it in there, and those guys are going to have a hard time getting back to the front in this one. But this one is indeed going to end under caution with the checkered flag waving. Griffin Lynn guarantees his spot in the Columbia 500 with a dual victory here today. Just what that driver needed. He was far back in the Amateur Cup Series points as a result of that accident, and now he's going to have his opportunity to try to redeem himself, and we'll see how he's able to fare coming up in just a few short moments. And it looks like Anthony Lopez ran out of fuel, so consider that a foreshadow for how this one might play out later today. So we take a look at the first results from today's first duel. Griffin Lynn has locked himself into the Columbia 500 with a first place finish. Dominic Carranza just came up short in second place. Dale Jr. Fan 8883 finishes third, but he will be your guaranteed pole sitter for today's event. Keep in mind those at-large spots. Kenny Knox finishes 6th. Jacob Rose finishes 7th. The only way that we could see Kenny Knox get dropped out is if the top 5 drivers in the duel number 2 are all part-timers. If it does come down to 2 drivers that are tied for 6th place, then it could be Kenny Knox's position based on qualifying time. The entire pack from 11th to 20th place is full of full-time competitors here. We see a few veterans, we see a few rookies. They're all going to be starting from these places. And here you see a bunch of the part-timers that competed in this duel. Sparky the Sun Devil will end up finishing 21st. I don't believe that's going to be good enough for him to get in. Craig Martin finished back in 22nd. Jason Thales in 24th, Lopez in 25th. Chris Harley dropped out of the race, and we saw a total of 8 DNFs as a result of accidents from today's event. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with duel number 2.
I was made in the shadows of greatness, shaped by the hands of legacy, forged in the fires of racing. I've been challenged, tested, and proven. Whether it's on that track or off, the truth is, what you're made of is what you're made to do.
Well, welcome back to coverage of the NFRN Elite Cup Series. We're running the dual races for the Columbia 500. We're on duel number 2. And let's get straight to the starting grid. We'll have Rampage starting up front as he'll be the second position in the Columbia 500. And 2 is outside for today's second duel. We have the other JR in the number 98 Ford Fusion. In the second row, we have the first of 20 Amateur Cup Series drivers in this duel looking for a way in. TJ Smith in the number 14, and to his outside, Ryan Kendall. Colin Lindsay's a veteran of this series, but from the third row, he'll have to race his way in for this event. And on the outside row 3, we have the number 95 of Kyle Law. In row number 4, it's part-timer next to full-timer John Gilbert, lining up next to Eric Monaco. In row 5, we have the number 59 of Joey Radcliffe and Eric Van Arsdale, who won the NFRN Champions League race earlier today. In row number 6, we have the winner of the Amateur Cup Series race that took place a few moments ago, Donnie Moore, in the number 43 Ford Fusion, will try to race his way into the Columbia 500, and to his outside, the veteran Stephen Willey. Row 7 has a couple of blue machines. Number 29 is Stuart Gradden, who runs full-time this year, and the 35 of Alexander Rowe, looking to race his way into this one. In row 8, we have John Art still seeking his first win in the NFRN, as well as AJ Jones. Row 9 has the number 0 of Julio Zazar and Austin Rogers looking for his way into the show. Tyler Markell starts on the inside of row number 10, and to his outside is Connor Mays looking to get into this one on speed. In row number 11, another pair of part-timers, Jake Thomas and Herjo Arvin Alonso. Row 12 has the number 26 of Ray Chapman and Jay Jefferson in the number 19, another set of part-timers. In row 13, we've got Zachary Fitzwater Sr. in the number 90 Twisted T Ford Fusion, and on the outside, Kyle Biselia, number 47. Al Calloway will start off row number 14, and Jack Freeman in the number 13 on the outside. Noah Kim will try to run the number 17 Ford Fusion into the Columbia 500, and to his outside, a two-time winner in the Elite Cup Series, NASCAR Fan 19. A couple of rookie competitors in the Elite Cup Series this season, Jack Porkins and Bruno De Barros, make up row 16. And from the rear of the field is our last winner in Elite Cup Series competition, Noah Kars, who won the Clash just a couple months ago. This is our last race before we get to the Columbia 500. Who's going to be able to lock themselves into the big show? We've got 20 part-time competitors here compared to the 10 in the first duel. A lot more opportunities for them to lock their way in. But we're heading down the front stretch. They hit the line to go green, and Rampage and the other JR will lead them to the line. We're racing here for duel number 2 at Columbia. Looks like Ryan Kendall is going to be immediately pushed off to the outside, and he's going to drop back fast after starting on the outside of row number 2. Everyone's already going underneath them. Meanwhile, we see the number 14 of TJ Smith try to make a move to the inside of Rampage and see what he can do in terms of getting to the front and potentially putting himself into the Columbia 500. Put together a solid effort in the Amateur Cup Series race, and now he looks to advance his way forward. Oh, and they're already wrecking, coming through the tri-oval. There's a big hit to the wall, and we see Al Calloway and Connor Mays head to the inside, but I think that is all that we're going to see here. Very minor accident. Might have been some big contact, though, and it's definitely going to take these guys out of contention for qualifying for the Columbia 500 now. And there's Kyle Bisceglia. He was also a part of that one. Shame for that driver. And that's going to be 3 part-timers that are probably not going to see themselves advance now. But TJ Smith was able to lead that lap. Colin Lindsay just behind him. They're all coming down the pit lane, and this is 1 lap earlier than we saw in the duel number 1. So this could be interesting in terms of, are these guys going to be able to stretch it just like they were last time around? Although we did see Anthony Lopez did just barely run out at the last moment, crossing the finish line. We'll see what the drivers do here. And it looks like it's going to be 2 tires across the board once again. Everyone's going for the rights. And it looks like TJ Smith is going to lead them off. It doesn't look like a ton of shuffling happened up toward the front of this one. And as we see race off pit road, it looks like Van Arsdale was actually able to gain 4 spots and put himself up to 8th place, but 2 tires across the board and not a lot of shuffling beyond that. Pretty tame on that first pit stop. The top 4 remains the same. So we look as they come off the turn number 4 into the tri-oval. Al Calloway, Kyle Bisceglia, they're looking for the same real estate there. They both cut up to the outside wall, and Connor Mays gets collected. Jay Jefferson is just right there, and I think he might just be able to avoid this one. Bruno De Barros looks like he got a touch of contact. Let's see what the 19 does. If he's able to get around this one, this would be amazing, just like Johnny Gardner missed the earlier accident. Oh, might have been a bit of contact there with Noah Kars as well, and Jefferson looks like he missed that one. But Mays and Calloway take some damage. It doesn't look like they're going to drop out of this one, though. So we've got the entire set of 33 cars remaining on the track. TJ Smith will lead them as we head to lap number 6. Coming out of this caution period. We'll have 10 laps to go. We still got a bunch of competitors up here that are looking to get into those at-large spots. In fact, we've got the top 5. Those are all part-time drivers looking for a spot, and if that were the way they were going to finish, it would look like Kenny Knox in Duel 1 would be kicked out. But still a lot of racing left to go here, so Knox is going to continue holding his breath as they come into turn number 1. Gilbert's going to cut to the inside of Colin Lindsay. It looks like Smith is going to drift up the racetrack, and Gilbert's going to go straight to the lead from place number 3, taking in just one corner. See the drivers shuffle across the many lanes of this racetrack, and we'll see if the veteran of Colin Lindsay is able to get himself into the event. Hasn't had the best of a weekend just yet. Hasn't had good luck in the Elite Cup Series races he's been in. Or rather, the lone Elite Cup Series race he's been in this season, which was the Clash, and finished last in that one because of being involved in an accident. Oh, and the one car of Rampage makes contact with Eric Monaco and John Gilbert up into the wall. Caution is out, and Gilbert, who looked like he had a chance at qualifying for this one, is now up into the wall and damaged. The 33 of Eric Monaco smoking in that car. That might mean he might be the car that goes last in the starting grid now. And there's the one car of Rampage who is slated to start second. If he has to go to a backup car, he won't be able to maintain his position. Basically, if he hits the garage this time around, then he is not going to be on the front row for the Columbia 500. But Stephen Woolley is going to take the lead. Ray Chapman, Jake Thomas, Colin Lindsay looks like they're going to be following behind him. And so Rampage and Monaco are already too close right here, and then I think Gilbert might come down the racetrack, but in any situation, those guys are just too close, and then Rampage just kind of closes them together, and all three are going to hit the wall. No one else gets involved in this one. They stay up against the wall in turn number 2. And another caution period is going to give these guys an opportunity to save some gas and try to stretch it to the end of the race, but we'll see. They're really hitting the edge of their pit window, and no one's going to stop right here. Ooh, Kyle Boschelli almost got involved in that one as Monaco came back down the racetrack. Let's watch on board the one car of Rampage. You saw that gap close up. I think the better move to be made right there would be for the one car to accept that he wasn't going to get that position, fade back behind the 83 car, and let that space be a bit more filled. But John Gilbert, Eric Monaco do drop out of this one. Gilbert's chances of making the show are done. Monaco will start last in this event. We head back to green flag. We got 4 laps to go in this one. Stephen Woolley will lead them back. Willie is our first race winner in the NFRN Elite Cup Series. Grabbed the victory at Bump Drafting, which will return to the schedule this year. But you see Jake Thomas is going to make the big cut to the inside and try to see if he can win this one. Get him that guaranteed spot. Plenty of competitors still around this one. And a lot can happen in just 4 laps. Oh, I think we have some takers on pit road. There we go, and kind of in the back of the field. That is AJ Jones, Alexander Rowe, Kyle Boschelli. Those are all part-time drivers, and they're not going to be able to stretch their fuel. Don't count them out yet. We might have to have all of these guys come down for fuel, but if they don't, those guys might be out of contention. Now we see Donnie Moore, the Amateur Cup Series race winner here at Columbia. Now he's going for the lead in this one. We'll watch on board the other JR. He is now the top running full-timer competitor in this one. And he's maintaining his patience, seeing if he can make a move at a better time. He's still got 2 1/4 laps to go. And there's more takers on pit road. That's Jack Porkins out in front, Eric Van Arsdale, Jay Jefferson, Jack Freeman, and about 3 other guys back further in the field. But still, some of these guys continue to go. Now Kyle Law is making his way to the front. And the 98 will follow and see if he can make the move. Maybe going into the last lap. But TJ Smith down there low, and there's some traffic coming up right here. Oh, and they're really close to Alexander Rowe. And Stuart Grad's going to get held up, as well as Stephen Willie, Austin Rogers, Ryan Kendall, Ray Chapman. A lot of part-timers right there. That's going to be bad for them in terms of qualifying for this one. And now we got Kyle Law, Donnie Moore, Colin Lindsay. They get way out in front. I think some more guys got held up by the slow traffic coming off pit road. And suddenly these 3 guys look like they're about to just lock themselves into the field because no one's about to catch them, but there's some more slow traffic that's going to come up. You see Noah Kim's down there, and there's more on the backstretch. Callaway, there's Porkins. And here's the pack back here. These guys might be a part of it. TJ Smith just ran into the back of Callaway. Kyle Boselli takes more damage, and Smith was running 5th at the time, and now he's out of this one. But they're racing back to the caution flag, which will be the checkers as well. And Kyle Law is going to win duel number 2. And Colin Lindsay, Donnie Moore, they both locked themselves in as well. Would you believe at the start of this one that we would say that there are 2 part-timers that are able to pick up victories in the duel races to qualify for the Columbia 500? That is quite a feat by these guys. So amazing job by Kyle Law. Puts himself out there. He'll beat out the veteran of Colin Lindsay and TJ Smith. Had he maintained the position he had, he would have qualified, and now he is going home for the weekend. Heartbreak for that 14 car who got held up by traffic coming off pit road. And we will take another look at this accident. You can see Callaway and Porkins. They are coming back on the racetrack, as is Noah Kim. It's a legal merge. They are allowed to come back on the backstretch. And then TJ Smith, he had some space on the outside. I'm not sure why he didn't necessarily go for it. A little bit of contact with the 98, but he's able to go on. And Jake Thomas got some damage. And there's the big hit with Kyle Boselli. Also held up the number 0 of Julio Cesar in the process. So tough break for the Jones Smith Racing driver. Ooh, wow. Noah Carson, NASCAR Fan 19 actually scraping the wall there as they try to avoid that one. So here's the final finishing order from this one. There are 7 part-time drivers in the top 10 in this one. The only non-part-timers were the other JR, Zachary Fitzwater Sr. and Stephen Willie. So Kyle Law, Colin Lindsay, Donnie Moore did lock themselves into the Columbia 500. We know that Griffin Lynn was also locked in. We'll have to check to make sure we know exactly who else is going to come into this one. Move a little bit further back in the field. Rampage was able to salvage a 19th place finish despite being a cause of that earlier wreck on lap number 7. We see TJ Smith falls all the way back to the end of the lead lap cars, finishes 21st, and he will not qualify for the Columbia 500. And plenty of part-timers had to make pit stops and get gas, or else they were going to run out. And we finally see the 47 of Kyle Boselli got major damage after that one, and John Gilbert, Eric Monaco drop out of the race. So here is the list you're looking for. These are the drivers that will qualify for the Columbia 500 based on their finishing positions. Griffin Lynn won duel number 1. Kyle Law wins duel number 2. Colin Lindsay, Donnie Moore, Austin Rogers, and Kenny Knox all qualify for the Columbia 500. And we'll see them later on in the action, which is going to come up in just a few moments. So let's head you right over there.